Hey boys and girls, Chris here. In this tutorial we're going to talk about frequency separation, separating the detail from the tone and color of an image for retouching. Downside? Very simple. It's going to increase your file size exponentially because we're going to have to repeat or duplicate the background layer twice. So if you put a lot of layers in your retouching, you want to consider this when you're moving forward. Also, I work pretty much exclusively in 16-bit, but 16-bit is going to increase your file size as well. So there are numbers for 16-bit and 8-bit, which I will show you here. I've got another slide for that. When we get to that, I will show you what the different numbers are and what they mean. So let's jump right in here. Let's separate these two things. So this background layer selected, I'm going to hit Command J twice. Once, twice. First one I'm going to call low, and the top layer I'll call high for the high frequency stuff. We're going to leave this off. This is just the other slide that I'm going to show you here in a second. And with a low, what we want to do is we want to make an adjustment to this layer. So with the low selected and we turn off the high, we go into Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Now what we're trying to do here is blur the detail, the small fine detail, but maintain the integrity of the values of the image that are important, like the edges of the lips and the nose and the eyes and things like that. So we don't want to distort those too much. So maybe around 6 or something like that works. So we say OK. So now the next thing we need to do is we need to think about getting the high frequency set up. So we select the high frequency, and the high frequency, this is a 16-bit file, and I know that by under image mode I can go under 16-bit, so I know it's a 16-bit file. I select the layer, apply image. I need to get the right one, apply image, and here's how we want it to be set up for 16-bit. We want to set up for the low layer in the add blend mode, offset 0, scale 2, and set up to invert. This will be different for the 8-bit, as I'll show you here in a second. We hit OK. The next thing we do is we put this in linear light to equalize it. And the last thing I'll do is just select both of these areas, these layers, and put them in a group. Call this FS for frequency separation. Here are the numbers for 16 and 8-bit. So just so you know, the 16-bit blending was add. We checked the invert, scale 2, offset 0. For 8-bit, blending was subtract, would be subtract. We would not check the invert. Scale would be 2 and offset would be 128. So remember these numbers. Screenshot this part of the movie if you like. We're going to turn this off for now, and I'm going to go to the high side to make sure that we can turn this off and on and not see any difference. So let's deal with the tone and the color. So let's zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to jump up here to my lasso tool, and I want to make sure that my lasso tool is feathered properly. So I make a selection where I've got tone and color differences that I want to smooth, and then I tap the Q key to check and see if I've got a good soft feather. So I might want to up that feather to maybe 30 or so. So let's take that up to about 30. And there we have. We've got a good rendition here, 30 pixels. So we select, say, this under here. And here we want to smooth this by blurring it. So here we're going to go blur. Again, Gaussian blur. And here we're selecting an we don't want to go too high, because if we looked at the image, we see that it really starts to get a little bit too artificial for us. So maybe around 20 isn't bad. Okay. Now if I just continue to just make a selection over these areas here and hit Command F or filter, it'll apply the same filter that I just applied. So here we can make sure that we get Command F, these hot spots, Command F, Command F, Command F, down below our lips, the hot spot on our chin. Interest of time, I won't go too crazy with this. But they have, general softening, but we have not touched the detail at all. Now, in addition to this, we can get the mix brush, which if we go into the brush menu here, you see the mixer brush tool. We get that tool and we make sure that these settings are 20, 20, 20, and 30. We don't want to sample all layers, we want to sample a single layer. So we're going to go on the image and we're going to option click and kind of help by smudging a little of this to help with the tone. This is just another way. You just want to be careful you don't get this type of thing. So we want to make sure that we have sampled it from a better area. So let me get the brush again, sample it from a better area, smooth that out a bit. And we can always go back to the lasso tool, and you can see that we're getting kind of raccoon eyes here. Hit Command F a couple times maybe. And there. So that's what we've done so far. We've smoothed it out quite a bit. And now let's deal with the high frequency. Now you can use a number of different tools. We're going to use the heal brush tool, and we're going to set the heal brush tool to the current layer. It's very important that we use just the current layer, not other layers, not current below, not all layers. And we're going to option click, get a little bit bigger brush, we can see it here, option click in the clean area, and then over this, and we're on the high frequency layer. And it's just addressing the detail. So we can go through the image and address anything that we feel needs to be changed. Any kind of blemishes. You see stuff in the neckline here that we didn't address with the blur layer, but we would. And I'll get a little bit smaller brush and we'll do these lines under her eyes a little bit. And there you have the basics. I mean, we can go crazy with how much of this we can do. And we can actually go back, and if we find something that we know need to blur, get the lasso tool again, and maybe we want to blur a little bit up here. Command F, and it'll soften that transition up. So now we have much softer transitions, but we've maintained the integrity of the detail of the image. So you can see where we've taken the image in short time. And again, here are the numbers for 8-bit and 16-bit. Keep in mind the file size, that this has dramatically increased the file size because of how many times we have duplicated the background layer. And the 16-bit is different than the 8-bit as far as how you want to set up your apply image. And that's all from here.